Alexander. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, a boy was born. A child destined to become a king so great that he would one day rule the entire world. His name was Alexander. The legend surrounding Alexander's birth tells of a skilled sorcerer named Nectanebo, fleeing Egypt under the looming threat of Persia. Nectanebo made his way to Macedonia, driven by what he believed to be a strong sense of destiny. One fateful night, he transformed himself into the guise of the god Amun, bearing the head of a ram and the body of a man, and visited Olympias while King Philip was away on campaign. That night, Olympias conceived Alexander, wholly convinced it was a divine act. Alexander grew up to become a handsome prince, admired by all for his striking presence and revered for his tremendous wisdom. His mother told him tales of his lineage, weaving stories of how he was no ordinary child, but the son of Zeus himself, the king of the gods. It was evident to Alexander, as certain as the rising sun, that he was destined to inherit his father King Philip's throne and one day rule as the king of Macedonia. This illusion was swiftly shattered when his father married a new, younger bride named Cleopatra Eurydice. As a full-blooded Macedonian, any heir born to Cleopatra Eurydice would represent a successor who was purely Macedonian, a direct threat to Alexander's claim to the throne. The court echoed this sentiment, and during the wedding, Attalus boldly declared in his toast, "May this union bless us with a legitimate heir to rule the kingdom." Alexander's reaction was swift and furious. He could not bear the implication that he was somehow less worthy of the throne. Standing up from his seat, he glared at Attalus. With a voice cold and cutting, he retorted, "And what would you know of heirs, legitimate or otherwise? Last I knew, subjects do not decide the fate of kings." "Enough!" Philip roared, his voice echoing through the hall. "Apologize to Attalus." Alexander stared at his father in disbelief, the sting of betrayal cutting deep. "You would have me apologize," he said, his voice low and venomous. Philip's face flared with fury. "I will not have my celebration ruined by your arrogance, Alexander. Apologize or face the consequences." Alexander stepped forward, defiance blazing in his eyes. "If anyone should apologize, it is Attalus, for daring to insult me, your son and rightful heir. But I see now where your loyalties lie." Philip's hand slammed onto the table, spilling the wine cups. "You dare question my loyalty," he thundered. "I will show you what it means to defy your king." In his drunken rage, the king charged toward Alexander, but his leg caught on the edge of a low table, sending him sprawling forward. He crashed to the ground with a heavy thud. Gasps filled the air. Then for a moment the hall fell into tense silence. Then Alexander's voice rang out, sharp and unyielding, carrying the weight of years of frustration. "Behold the man who claims he will lead us in conquest from Europe to Asia, yet stumbles in passing from one couch to another." Following the banquet incident, Alexander and his mother were exiled. Their relationship with King Philip now irreparably fractured. While in exile, the two plotted in secret, driven by the desire to reclaim what they believed was rightfully Alexander's. They carefully orchestrated a scheme, one that would end with Philip's death. Their plan was executed with precision and cunning, and in the end, they succeeded in their deadly ambition, forever altering the course of history. By the age of 20, Alexander ascended the throne of Macedon. His military genius and unyielding ambition left an indelible mark on history. What began as a campaign against Persia soon transformed into an odyssey of conquest and dominion. In less than a decade, Alexander forged an empire, uniting vast and diverse lands under his rule, from Egypt and Persia to Mesopotamia and parts of India. It was at the zenith of his conquests that Alexander's true nature emerged. A man of boundless vision and insatiable ambition, he saw himself as more than just a king. He believed he was a god. Alexander embraced the notion that he was destined to unite the world under his rule. His army became the instrument of his will as he relentlessly drove his men to the edges of the known world. When Alexander reached Jerusalem during his conquest, the high priest presented him with a prophecy from the book of Daniel that foretold his triumph over Persia. And the rough he-goat is the king of Greece. Alexander, intrigued by the prophecy, asked to learn more. He inquired about their sacred texts, which would later be known to the world as the Bible. As Alexander delved into the scriptures, he first encountered the story of the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Life, a revelation that became an obsession, igniting a profound fervor within him to transcend the boundaries of mortal existence. Seeking to deepen his understanding, Alexander turned to the elders of the South, men who had inherited wisdom passed down through generations. As recorded in the Mishnah, a sacred Hebrew collection written by the sages, Alexander asked the elders of the South where the Garden of Eden was located. They revealed to him the way, describing it as lying beyond the mountains of darkness at the western edge of the world. It is said that Alexander eventually reached the gates of Eden, but was denied entry to the garden. Undeterred, he stood before the gates, demanding that his arduous journey not be in vain. Relenting to his persistence, the keepers of the garden handed him a single eyeball from within the garden. To Alexander's astonishment, the eyeball was impossibly heavy, and he could not lift it. Confused, he asked the keepers for its meaning. They replied, "The lust of a human eye is insatiable. Therefore, its weight is heavier than any matter. Cover it with dirt, and it will reveal its true weight." Alexander was given a warning he chose to disregard, and so, determined to enter the Garden of Eden, the master conqueror eventually returned wiser and better prepared. This time, he breached the gates of Eden and reached the Tree of Life. However, his triumph came at an unimaginable cost. A powerful curse transformed him into a cherub, a beast in the form of half man and half goat. Behold, a he-goat came from the west over the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. Though Alexander gained immortality, he forfeited his kingdom, his humanity, and the very legacy he had sought to secure. And the he-goat magnified himself exceedingly, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and instead of it, there came up the appearance of 4 horns to ward the 4 winds of heaven. Alexander, stunned and defeated, was forced into exile. His death was faked, and his kingdom was divided into 4 parts, each ruled by one of his generals and former friends.